This is the Magic Man, the tennis preacher, tennis prophet, tennis psychic, coming back at you with a really important video. You know what? I hope this video goes really viral. I hope those of you who like this and think this is a good formula that I'm getting ready to explain, I hope y'all send this to Facebook, Snapchat, Twitter, just Instagram, everything. I really want this video to go viral. If you guys think it works, send this video out. Test it out yourself and then send it out. Okay, today, people, I'm still on this whole greatness thing. And like I said, everybody want to know who would be the greatest. Is Rod Laver greater than Federer? So I got this formula. Now, I'm not saying this formula is 100% proof, and it's not, but it comes close. This formula does two things. It lets you know possibly who's the greatest of all time, but okay, that's not totally 100% proof. I know people gonna say, well, you can't really prove that this formula without question verifies who's the greatest of all time, and I'm not saying that, but it does come close. But I'm gonna tell you what this formula also does. Okay, it does that. It sort of shows you who's the greatest of all time based on the stats that you would see with the formula that I'm getting ready to present. But it also does something else. Most people that are in this greatness debate, most things you hear, most of the people are biased, and either they bias with whether they think Federer is the greatest, Nadal's the greatest, the Djokovic the greatest, Rod Laver's the greatest, or Pete Sampras the greatest. Most people are biased about it, whether they're giving correct facts or incorrect facts. But what this formula does now, one thing it really does, it makes you see if you really believe that the player that you are calling the greatest, do you really believe he's the greatest? And let me explain to you what I'm saying. Once you make out this formula, okay, for example, if you believe Nadal is the greatest, then the formula you make out, it should fit Nadal. The statistical formula, and I'm getting ready to present it in a second, that you make out, it should be closer to the guy you support. Like I said before, if you support Federer, then your statistics from your formula should support Federer. Okay. Or if you support Nadal, your statistics or achievements that's put in your formula should be closer to Nadal's statistics. Now, what's going to happen is people, and this is no trick stuff, people are going to find out that maybe a Nadal supporter, once he make his or her formula, it may be closer to Federer's statistics. So that's going to mean that you think Federer is the greatest of all time, even though you're talking that Nadal is the greatest of all time. So you all see how it works now? Now you all are probably saying, what is the formula? Okay, here's the formula right here. It's called the imaginary greatest player of all time. And you're probably saying, what do you mean imaginary greatest player of all time? I really mean what I'm saying. And I'm going to do it here, I want everybody to create an imaginary greatest player of all time. In other words, if I told you, okay, here are the general statistics of Federer, Nadal, Rod Laver, the Djokovic. Let me see. So I got Federer, Nadal, the Djokovic, and Pete Sampras. Okay, so we're gonna use the statistics and achievements of those, because most people agree that one of those are probably going to end up being the greatest of all time, or one of those is the greatest of all time. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Okay, we're going to have different departments, different statistical departments here. Okay, so the first department is the The majors. Okay, everybody know how important it is. So you gonna, with your imaginary greatest tennis player of all time, how many majors, and also when I say imaginary greatest tennis player of all time, just imagine if you were a tennis player, a pro tennis player, how many majors would you like to win to say you are the greatest of all time? So you know Federer got 19, so you want to go beyond that at least. I will hope that you put more than 19. So with the imaginary, so with the first statistical department, it's major. So I'm going to make out my imaginary greatest of all time. Now this is mine, so you're going to make out yours. So with majors, if somebody told me there is a player that's greater than Federer, Nadal, Rod Laver, Pete Sampras, the Djokovic, blah blah blah. So I would probably say, so how many majors do you think that player got? So my imaginary greatest of all time tennis player has, I'm going to go with 25 majors. Okay, so that's the first category. So my imaginary, so you guys can say, you guys can write down or put it in your head, how many majors does your imaginary greatest of all time tennis player got? Okay, now so let me stick with mine first. My imaginary greatest of all time tennis player has 25 majors. Okay, now here's the second department. The second department is, how many years were you at number one consecutively? I know people can be number one this year. I'm going with consecutively. So that's a different than being number one maybe this year, then regaining it 2 years later. I mean that's down the line as far as achievements, but I think the second one is how many years can you be number one consecutively? So my imaginary greatest of all time tennis player, so Pete Sampras was number one for 6 consecutive years, and I think Rod Laver was number one for 7. Y'all can check on that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go above both of them. I want to be my imaginary greatest of all time tennis player. He has 25 majors, and now he has now he has 25 majors, and now he has been number one for 8. I'm gonna go with the number 8 consecutive years. Okay, now the third department is how many of those end of the year championships did your imaginary player win? How many do I want him to win? So here we go. I think I forgot how many Rod Laver got. He's up there with 5 to 7 or whatever, I think. But I know Federer has 6, and the Djokovic got 5, and Pete Sampras got 5. So what I want to do, I'm gonna say with the end of the year championship, the end of the year championships, you know where the top 8 battle that out. Since I was number one for 8, since I put down that my imaginary greatest tennis player was number one for 8 consecutive years, I'm gonna say I won 8 of those. My imaginary greatest tennis player won 8 of those end of the year championships. So in those 3 departments now, we got, for majors, my imaginary greatest tennis player got 25 majors, was number one for 8 consecutive years, and also won 8 of those end of the year championships. Now, the fourth department, I'm only going to use 4 departments. I know you can make 10 departments, many departments to determine who's the greatest, or 10 greatness departments. But I'm just going to use 4 categories for now for this formula. So the last department is, how many Master Series do I want my imaginary greatest tennis player of all time to have? So this is what I'm going to do. I think Nadal and the Djokovic are tied for 30 Master Series tournaments won. I think it's so. I know Nadal has 30. So I want to have 40. Do I want to say 45? No, I'm going to say 40. So my imaginary greatest. No. I'm going to put 45. Just in case Nadal catch 40.